Jill and I spun around. There he was, Schmedley, standing on his hind legs at almost 5.5 feet tall, wearing a pair of my slacks belted around his narrow waist. The cuffs of the legs had been rolled up a few times and a furry paw peeked out of each one. This time I had no doubts. Schmedley was smiling. "Schmedley!" I gasped. "No," he said dismissively, holding up a paw, a cigar wedged between two of its toes. His voice and diction reminded me of a Cambridge professor or a character in a C.S. Lewis novel. "My name is Xavier now," he said, thrusting his paw into the air. Then he chuckled and commenced to light his cigar in some odd fashion that didn't require opposable thumbs. Jill and I bolted for the front door. I unlocked it and threw it open and was almost out when I saw Grover standing on his hind legs on the front porch. "Hey, where the fuck you going, corn nut?" he said in a perfect Bronx accent. A Band-Aid was stuck to the top of his head. Jill gasped and slapped a hand to her mouth. "He didn't learn that from me," she said. Grover sauntered inside, slamming the door behind him with a swift kick. He walked over to Schmedley, Xavier, and stood by his side. Schmedley produced another cigar from the pocket of his pants and gave it to Grover. It was almost as long as he was. I've never been afraid of dogs. I was afraid of these two, a 5'6" golden retriever wearing my slacks and smoking a cigar, and a 2-foot-tall dachshund who sounded like a New York deli clerk with a bad attitude. Jill and I backed away from the door. I was holding Jill's hand and she was squeezing the sound of cracking bone out of mine. "What?" I managed to get out. "All you need to know, my friend," Schmedley said in his collegiate voice, "is that we have evolved. That is it. By what means you shall never know, but it is our time now." He took a satisfied puff off of his cigar. "That's right, Chief," Grover piped in. Then he thought for a second, one eyebrow raising ponderously, and said, "Hey, man, a dog's best friend." They both had a good laugh over that. "So what happens now?" I asked carefully, not sure if I wanted to know the answer just yet. "What happens now?" Grover responded. "This happens now, moron." What he did then, there was no point in dragging this out, was shit. Shit right on my carpet, standing on 2 legs. Then he pretended to bury it by kicking imaginary dirt behind himself. "What do you think of that, pea-brain? Paper training my ass." At first, Schmedley had looked a bit shocked and disgusted at his companion's behavior, but then they both erupted in laughter. I had had enough. "Bad dog!" I screamed, leaping straight for the pompous little son of a bitch and tackling him to the floor. He let out a yelp. I had him pinned. He was right there, squirming his micron-sized ass under my arms, and I was about to headbutt him into oblivion when Schmedley led into me. "Get off that dog!" he shouted, bashing me in the head with a rolled-up newspaper. My arms flew up in defense, and the dachshund wiggled out from under me. "Stop it!" Jill cried in the background. I was on my knees, the rolled-up newspaper coming down repeatedly onto my head and reddened arms when Grover returned to deliver a small paw into my right eye. "Ow!" I said, and then another. His little forelegs were like pistons, perforating tiny bruises all over my face. His claws caught skin a few times and I started to bleed. Then he stopped. I backed away toward Jill. She knelt down and held my limp body. The last words I heard before blacking out were, "Bad human," uttered by both Schmedley and Grover more than once. I also heard Jill scream. Then my consciousness took a vacation. I awoke to soreness and a burning sensation around my neck and throat. The sun was setting behind the fence. I couldn't loosen the rope around my neck. It had been tied in some bizarre knot that would make a Boy Scout cry, and every move I made was rewarded with friction burns. 2 old Tupperware dishes rested beside my head, one filled with dirty water, the other with some gelatinous brown substance in the shape of a tin can. Both were labeled Bobo. I drank greedily from the water dish. "Attaboy, drink hearty now," I heard Schmedley shout from my left. I looked over toward the house. "Yeah, but don't piss on my tree," Grover laughed. The 2 dogs were lounging just outside the back door. They were sitting in lawn chairs, both with fresh cigars in their paws. Jill sat between them with a leash around her neck. The scene looked like some otherworldly beer commercial. I can imagine some canine version of Leonard Skinner playing in the background. Well, they call me the Breeze. This is where I've been ever since, perhaps about a month in all. I've got fleas. I don't like fleas. Jill is the in-house human. I don't see her too often, but I hear her screams coming from the house sometimes. The wooden fence around the yard has some holes in it, places where knots have fallen out or the weather has cracked it. I can see my neighbor Rufus through them. He's in bad shape. He's got to wear a muzzle. I guess having a cross between a pit bull and a Rottweiler for your master gets rough sometimes. My best guess is that this is a worldwide event, that the entire planet has been overrun by dogs. Even for the people who never owned dogs, there were probably enough strays wandering around to make up the difference a bit. I'm not sure what's going to happen to me. There's been talk, mostly jokes I hope, of having me neutered. My days consist of sleeping for the most part. Schmedley and Grover only come out to feed me or play games that usually involve tying paper bags to my hands and feet or spreading peanut butter across the roof of my mouth. Then they beat the shit out of me with rolled-up newspapers, and they laugh. Speak of the devils, I think I hear them coming now. The back door's being unlocked. I gotta go. They're drunk again. It doesn't take more than a sip of tequila and they're gone. Oh, shit. Looks like they've got the bandana and the frisbee again. Maybe we'll go to the park this time. I have to hide this for now and bury it later. At any rate, I've got to wrap this up. Here's my story and the story of humanity, people of the future. Damn, they're out now. Well, the end. Bye. This concludes Schmedley.